Guys, I've got a special guest on today's show. We have got the Brian Floyd right here. Guys, you might have seen Brian on here before. You were on here about, what, a year ago or so?
Yeah, probably at least a year ago.
I think we're playing your Paul Reed Smith guitar at that time.
Yeah, the PRS, the Mesa Boogie amp.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
The Telecaster that you borrowed.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I thought I was on the borrow to own plan, you know?
Yeah, we're working on that.
We're working on that. But anyway, guys, real quick story about Brian, and we'll talk about this awesome guitar that he's got in his lap here. Oh, man. Brian is the front man for the Southern Creek Band, which is their local brand here, like in the Brandon. You guys play in Tampa all over the place.
Apollo Beach, yeah.
And mostly what, country Southern rock.
Yeah, country Southern rock. Boomer stuff, right?
Boomer stuff, definitely. Hey, it's the stuff we love, though, man. The stuff we grew up on. And, dude, you're doing solo gigs now, too.
Yep.
So that's awesome. Phenomenal musician, though, guys. One of the most solid front dudes I've seen on stage. So, but anyway, we are here to talk about Brian's Les Paul.
Les Paul. The new Les Paul. It's a couple months old.
Yeah.
That's actually not been out of the case very much until today.
Now, have you played this live yet?
No. Nope. I haven't even plugged in and played an amp yet. Yeah.
Well, we're going to change that.
Yeah.
By the way, you guys are going to hear some. You're going to hear some music with this Les Paul. Brian's going to jam. I'll jam a little bit. So I'm going to save that towards the end of the video. I want to talk about some things about this Les Paul. Mainly, I want to address the tuning issue, Brian, and also kind of what made you switch from the Strat style guitars over to the Les Paul style guitars.
Yeah. I've always loved the single cut, the way they look. They just iconic, you know. You see Jimmy Page on stage, hanging down to his knee, and obviously Slash.
I love Slash, yeah. I'm a big Slash fan.
And I always loved the way they look. I could just never find one that played right for years. Yeah. And I played, like you said, Strats, and obviously Telecasters, that they just fit that radius, that 9.5 radius. It was comfortable. Yeah. And I'd play Les Pauls, and I'd love the way they look. And I was like, I just could never find a comfortable playing one.
Yeah.
And then it was 2019, I guess, the new CEO came in at Gibson. People made a big deal out of it. And I was like, well, let me just check one out. I happened to be at the store, and I grabbed one, and it was like instant. I was like, oh my God, I love this guitar. I actually had to buy it.
Yeah.
And I loved it so much that I bought that one. And then a month later, I bought a custom shop with a 59 neck on. That one's not on this video, but this almost compares to the custom shop.
You got like 4 or 5 Les Pauls, dude.
Yeah. Once you get hooked.
Real quick, I want to show you guys, some of you, most of you have played Les Pauls. Some of you haven't, though.
Yeah.
But one of the big differences, for me anyway, and I'm going to pull out my Ibanez RG 1570 Prestige. You guys are very familiar with this guitar. But one of the things about, the difference here is the neck, right? You see the RG, it's got the wizard neck. Very thin, right? But the fretboard's a bit wider, and my hands fit this guitar really well, as you guys know. But this guitar, the Les Paul here, much thicker. Hopefully you guys can see that well. And of course, I guess the fretboard's slightly thinner on that. But yeah, I mean, this is a nice playing guitar. And again, you guys are going to hear this. You're going to hear this soon, I promise.
And I mean, I guess recently, of all the years I've been playing, I never really dug into the nerdy side of guitar stuff. But then I started discovering, well, Les Pauls have different necks, Yeah. And they have a 50 style, a 60 style, a 59 is supposed to be like the holy grail. Yeah. And this is a 60 style, even though it's got a 50s style finish on it. They usually don't do this on a 60s model. But this is actually a thinner profile neck, not as thin as the Ibanez, obviously.
Yeah, but much thicker.
But compared to a 50s model, it's night and day. Even that PRS, has a thicker style, which is, I mean, I have to each their own. I do typically just play rhythm, so a thicker neck doesn't necessarily bother me, but I am doing some more lead stuff, so a thinner neck is more comfortable for leads,
Yeah, I think that's my thing, because I do play a lot of leads, so, I like that thinner neck. It's a little bit faster to me.
Yeah.
But in playing this, though, like you said, for rhythms, actually, before you came over, of course, I had this plugged into the EVH, which you guys are going to hear. I was playing, just some stock metal riffs on it. I'm like, man, this thing sounds really good.
Well, this one in particular, bought from a company in Colorado called Wildwood Guitars, and they have like a personal relationship with Gibson, I guess.
Yeah.
And so this is just a Les Paul standard, but they get to hand pick which tops they want to put on it. So of course that caught my eye. You want a pretty one. This one's very like a 3D effect. When you get it in the right light, it just looks like it's
beautiful.
It's got a 3D effect. It's just crazy. I don't know if they'll catch it on camera the way it is in person.
Yeah.
But so they hand pick the tops and the custom finish on it for this, And they do custom wound pickups for this, specifically for this place.
Nice, dude. Nice.
Yeah, so it's not a custom shop per se, but for, I mean a custom shop or a standard Les Paul is going for $2,600 now, I think, or something like that. And this was $3,000. So for 300 or 400 hours more, you get the more custom pickups. You get a way better looking top than just a standard, you know.
That's a beautiful top out of all the other Les Pauls I've seen.
I would compare this to my custom shop.
Okay, yeah. Well, we broke that out the other day. Actually, I'll put an image of his custom shop up here so you can see the difference. And but yeah, I mean the custom shop's nice as well. But the standard is that's a beautiful finish. Now, dude, let's talk about the pickups real quick because I know a lot of you guys watching, you're metal players or rock players, and Brian actually plays metal as well. But, you know, the pickups, one of the things is we go back and forth on active versus passive. I actually like passive pickups, but these things are hot, man.
Are they?
You know, well, not like hot, but, you know.
But, I mean, just humbuckers, you know?
Yeah.
Especially if you've been playing a Telecaster, you know?
Well, that's true. You guys have seen the telly. Yeah, the telly the telly you see on screen right now, that's Brian's. He let me borrow it. I'm going to end up buying this from him, by the way. But I use it mainly for my live solo gigs. I wanted to include some electric in there, but I didn't want to bring an electric for these gigs that has a Floyd, right? Or any kind of floating trim on it. I wanted something simple that kind of just would sound good across the board, you know.
And it's funny, when you're out at a gig like that, and I've seen people comment to you when you do it, they're like, oh man, you broke out the Telecaster. For some reason, people, even if they have just a little knowledge of music, for some reason they love Telecasters. It's a beautiful guitar though. That telly is nice though. And it's still a single cut technically, you know. Yeah. It's only got the one cutaway on the Telecaster, but the pickups, like I said, they're custom wound. I'm not sure what the output on these. I'm sure they're just like a nice medium. Yeah. I personally I like a low output or medium, you know, just because to me you still get a good. I think the tone that comes from the wood to a point on an electric guitar. You can you can get more out of your amp with the lower output. Yeah. You know, I don't know if it's to me for my ears, you know. And I would say that lower output pickups, and I compare my Ibanez with passive pickups, stock pickups. You guys know I changed the pickups on that thing, the V7, V8s. I changed those a while back and ended up changing them back to the stock. But that versus like my EMG pickups in my LTD and ESP guitars, I mean, those are great pickups as well. But it seems like passive pickups grant you a little bit more clarity, right? I would think. I've played on active pickups only a couple of times, honestly, and they're too much for me to handle. I mean, I mean, you have to be so clean, or maybe if you're playing an arena or something like that, it might if you're playing a big huge, but if you're just doing at home or small to medium sized gigs, they're hard to control. I mean, they really are. I mean, they'll and that's just it. You know, a lot of metal guitar players, they're, you know, if you're not playing in a band, you're just playing in your studio in your room most of the time, so you hear what you hear. But when you're on stage, things change. And then if you're not in a big arena, like most of us aren't, right? You and I, we play. I mean, we play some decent sized stages. Both of us do. So, but you know, we play. But for solo gigs and then for bands on a smaller stage, you know, you kind of have to tone things down a little bit. And you have a little bit more control with the passive, in my opinion. So, but those sound really good. I say they're hot. They're, like you said, compared to the telly. I'm like, okay, I'm getting humbuckers. Obviously, I'm getting a little bit more out of this. I do like the simplicity of all this here, man. You know, your bridge and everything. Yeah. Once you get it set up right, I mean, luckily I'm very shocked. This came all the way from Colorado. Yeah. And I took it out of the case and it was still in tune. Oh man. The action is perfect because the guy knew how to set up a guitar. I told him I don't like as far as neck relief. Some guys, I mean, when you're a rhythm player, you tend to want more neck relief, so you don't fret out and buzz and stuff. Right. Yeah. But I tend to like a more flat neck. Yeah. So when I do play my little leads here and there, you know, it's a little bit easier to play. The lower action and the neck is flatter. Yep. This came straight out of the box. It's rare that even like the PRSs are known for that. You get out of the box, it's still in tune. But for a Gibson, it's like, you know. But I was shocked. You know, the guy who set it up there did it right, man. No, that's something I do want to talk about before we play this bad boy, because this thing's about to go into the EVH, guys. You got to hang around for that. We're about to plug it in, but before we get to the tuning part, because I know Brian's got a very good point, you know, about the tuning of these guitars. But can you go over your controls? This is where I have a hard time. You've got the toggle, which is great, but you've got a lot of knobs down here. Yeah, so some guys, obviously, this is your rear volume and rear tone, and front pickup and front tone. Pretty simple, you know. So you got your volumes for each one, but it can get confusing where if you have this all the way down, you're not going to get anything out of this. So you can still stay in the middle position technically and get, you know, but you always just flip it down just in case. But then you get that little cut out effect like it even has with the cutout switch. A lot of guys will do that. I personally, I leave it on. I always roll my tone back a little bit on this because it can get, depending on how your amp's set up, a little ice picky, like harsh.
Yeah, a little bite to it.
Yeah, so I just roll the tone back a little bit, but there's something of the type of music I play, like a classic rock.
Yeah.
When you have a nice, smooth overdrive sound and you flip it on that front pickup right there, and they call it the woman sound. I don't know who, I think Eric Clapton coined that phrase, but it's called the woman sound, and it's like this sustain that when you hit these notes and it just sings. It's like when your amp is dialed in right and the band is just playing perfect and you hit some of these notes, you're just like, that's it, you know. I mean, it's just a classic. Like you feel like you're in the, maybe it's 70s or something, or 60s or something, you know, just that classic rock sound that just like everyone knows when they hear it, you know. You know, so that's pretty cool about that.
You got a lot of controls there. I get overwhelmed with this. I like, you know, all of my guitars, they have that tone control, volume tone. I never use the tone, but I understand why you use it on this. And you guys know I'm like Leonard Skinner. I'm a simple man. The simplest I can keep everything, you know, the better off I am. But I know a lot of you guys, you want to dig deeper into the tone, and then you've got the option with this.
There's I can't remember the guy's name personally. He plays a Les Paul. He's a blues guy. Man, I wish I remember his name. He's got one pickup on his guitar, like custom made for it, and he's got one volume and one tone. And the guy can get 10 different sounds out of his guitar just by messing with the tone.
Man,
people really underestimate the tone knob on. I mean, it does depend on the genre of music. I mean, metal is in your face. You know, I mean, you want it to be heavy and all that stuff, so you typically don't roll that back much. But when you're doing, you know, more like a country or a classic rock or something, you can, like, I've seen video of me on stage. Subconsciously, as I'm playing, I'm always adjusting that tone knob just because I can hear a sound and then when it's time to do a lead, roll it back up. You can cut through the mix and then you roll it back down, and
I like that a lot. And that's the big thing with leads, man. So that's interesting. You know, you make that point about metal, which we're always gonna love metal guys. But at the same time, when you're playing other styles, it can get a little bit more intricate. You know, especially, you know, you guys, we both gig playing for 3 to 4 hours. You're playing different styles.
I hear things. I'm a sound. Really, in my gut, I'm a sound guy. I would be a great sound guy. I would love to run a board for people because I love to make it sound balanced. You know, so
you've made me sound really good on stage, man.
So my goal is, when it's time for guitar to be up above everyone, you bump up above everyone. It's a boost pedal or something like that. You get up there, you do your lead, and you come back down because ultimately vocals are always the king. You know?
That's always going to be the king,
That's hard for a guitar player to hear, but when you're a singer, that's just the way it goes.
The two biggest egos in the band, the lead singer and the guitar player, and you're both.
There you go.
Dude, before we jam on this baby, because you guys want to hear what this sounds like, right? Yes, you do. And then, of course, we need to jump in the pool after that, man. But anyway, so I want you to quickly talk about the tuning issue that Gibsons are supposedly known for, especially Les Pauls.
And it's they call it 3-on-3 or whatever, you know, 3 upper, 3 lower. Obviously, you get the string pull right here. I'm sure y'all know that. But this one in particular, that G string, is notorious for going sharp or going flat. It all comes down to who sets up your guitar.
Okay.
If you have a good luthier or a guy that sets up your guitar, they know to cut that slot at the angle that the string is running. Even though it pulls over, as long as the slot is cut the right way, your string's not going to bind up. That's what does it. So as you're tuning, some guys, they had this hard, you hear ping. And then as soon as you play it, now your string's too sharp because it was sticking, you know, because it's not cut right. So if you get the nut slot cut right, and then obviously everyone says graphite is, you know, you can use a pencil. You can put a little graphite and it helps the string glide. There's a few motorcycle products that you can use that for clutch cables and stuff on motorcycles. It's actually pure graphite, and it's called Dry Glide. I don't know if I've used it before. And you just put a little drop right there, and it's just graphite. That's all it is, and it just helps the string slide. But if you have someone that knows how to cut that nut right, it's not even an issue. I have a bigger issue down here in Florida with humidity.
Oh,
and
dude, it kills us here.
My other Les Paul, I just did a gig a month ago, and it was 2 in the afternoon, tuned up the guitar, and it, obviously the sun's coming out, and he sat there, so right before we start, I go to play, and it's complete, the whole guitar's out of tune because in the heat and humidity, the wood and doing stuff.
There's nothing you do about that.
Yeah.
It just, it's that way here.
That's not the guitar. And then obviously the other thing is, these are stock tuners on here, and they're Grovers, which is a good brand, but
you want to get the locking.
Yeah, I always change the lock. Even if you don't change the locking, you can. These are I think a 14-to-1 ratio, maybe 16-to-1, but pretty much the standard now is 18-to-1. So 18-to-1 tuners stabilize everything. But I always change them to locking because it's faster and easier.
It's so much easier. I even have locking tuners on my 7-string guitars, you guys know, and it's got a Floyd on it. I've had people ask, you've got the locking tremolo set up, why do you have the locking tuners on top of that? Well, it helps stabilize tuning even more so, but it's so much faster to change strings, man. I mean,
and I don't use the elixirs like you. I use regular Ernie balls.
I think I'm getting you over to the elixirs.
On my acoustic, yeah. I might experiment with this scene, but I do 2 gigs, maybe 3 gigs with a set of strings before I change. I just buy like 50 packs of them at one time. And,
I'm the same way. Like I said, the humidity down here in Florida, it's pretty rough. Dude, I think it's time to jam on this thing, man.
I'd say so. I'd like to hear it.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna plug this baby in, guys. Guys, just want to say thank you for watching my videos and all the support. By the way, make sure you follow Brian here. He's got a website for the Southern Creek Band, and of course his Facebook. Brian, you're going to start a YouTube channel soon too, right?
That's the rumor, if you can convince me.
Yeah, well, we're talking about that. So Brian has a lot of knowledge in guitars, and I like the way you go over things, man, and explain things on your guitars and stuff. So I'm encouraging him to start his own YouTube channel. So help me encourage him. We're just out here grilling some burgers and some dogs, and we're gonna be jumping in the pool. I gave myself a day off. We both did. So yeah, we're out here enjoying life and want you guys to enjoy it too. So thank you again for watching. Guys, I'll see you on the next video. Until then, you know what to do. As always, keep it metal. And sometimes keep it Southern rock and country.
There you go.